first of all, welcome to the digital series talks that have been taking place or will be taking place over the next few weeks in terms of content. Now, I want to take this opportunity, first of all, to welcome Mr. Paul Wilson, who's our first guest speaker from industry to the talk series, because Paul has been invited here today to give his expert opinion on social media, and in particular upon his profile as a social, and I'll quote this word for word so I don't get it wrong, a social media personal trainer. And anyone who has a job description like that, okay, deserves a platform to illustrate his skills. So we're really grateful that Paul is here today to tell you about social media and the role he plays. In particular, I just want to highlight the significant role that Paul has within the social media environment, because Paul has advised many organizations, many universities, colleges, and other agencies on how to tailor their social media outlook, okay? And that's what Paul is going to talk about today, how you can adapt your social media profile to the objectives you want to achieve. And hopefully, by the end of it, you will all have a clear objective of what you're going to be achieving through your social media platforms, okay? So without further ado, I'll hand over to Paul. Thank you for joining us today. What we'll do is we'll also save the questions for the end, and then you can answer them in one go, if that's all right. Okay. Thank you very much.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. And first of all, I want to say a big thanks to Melissa for inviting me along in the first place. And then definitely a big thanks to all of you, because I believe this is an optional session. And I'm pretty sure back in my day at the university, I'm not sure I would have toddled along to one of these. So I really do thank you for coming along. And I hope you'll find it useful and something to give you some thoughts of inspiration, maybe. Let's see. First question is just, I want to get a feel for what everybody's studying. I know it's a business school, so that's a big clue for me. But are there any particular subjects that you study? Are you all doing the same thing? Okay. Yeah, so you're all from the events team. Yeah, okay. Brilliant. And here's a question. Oh, right. Okay. Oh, yeah. Let's bring down the lights. So, do any of you in the audience, have you got a clear idea of what you're going to do once you finish your education? You've got a definite thing to go for. So, can we have a show of hands? How many? Okay. It's an interesting thought. I was at a Lincolnshire Chamber event recently, lots of businesses in the room, 150 people sitting in the audience, and there was a motivational speaker, a chap called Adrian Webster, and what really stood out, what I remember the most, was he asked this question. He said, how many of you sitting here today are doing exactly what you set out to do when you left education? I'm not kidding, not a single hand went up in that room. And then he said, well, actually, I've been doing this, talking to conferences for over 12 months, 150 different locations, not just UK, but around the world. Do you know how many hands had gone up in that time? No more than 20 people. So part of my message today is you don't have to have everything planned out. Social media came into my world as a very unexpected career change. So the question, can social media change your world? I'm not here to say, yes, social media is the thing to do. Drop everything you're studying and go and do what I did and go and teach people social media and work with people. But it's that experience that I had. It's really also about volunteering and actually broadening your horizons a little bit. I had a very narrow focus when I went through university, get the degree, get the job, off we go. And I didn't do enough in terms of my own personal development. And I think that was a big lesson for me. It's a big learning point. And it's the reason why these kids in the slide here are doing what I'm sure most of you relate to, your childhood. Hot summer's day, splashing about, having some fun. This is actually in Botswana. And the only reason that they're doing this is because of a social media-led worldwide fundraising event. And they just swum and taken part in this event. So it's a small global village out there. It's something that I would never have imagined. I mean, I don't do events at all. I mean, my wife will tell you, organisation is not my key. So how I've ended up involved with this event, you'll find out, but never something I would have expected to do. So, in terms of where I am today, yeah, I really am filling all the cliches. I wake up in the morning and I love what I do because it's working with small businesses, with startup companies, also with non-profits, social enterprises, really helping them understand how to use social media effectively. So that's how you raise your profile and brand, how you get a consistent message out there, how you actually get clients and you actually get business through it. Because that's a difficult thing. It's one part of a lot of other marketing that you need to do. So yeah, I go and do lots of talks and do lots of sessions around the local area and further afield. So, you know, it's something that can be challenging, running your own business. It's 4 years now into it. But it's something that I really, really see me doing right up till retirement. And I would never have expected that when I set out. So, let's take a sip. What are we talking about here? Because, you know, 5 years ago, if you'd have met me, it would have been a very different story. Oh, dear me, got myself confused with slides. Yeah, the other thing was, I was going to say, and of course this is my lovely son, is that the fact that I've got this job now, that means it's flexible, I can work from home, I can set my own hours, be my own boss. You get to be able to choose, you know, be able to go out on days out like this. Just last half term, went out down to Wembley Stadium and got to walk out there. Fantastic. And that's the balance, the work-life balance that I managed to find. Quality of life, you know, it's such an important thing. And now I can say, but if you'd have met me 5 years ago, it would have been a very different story. On the face of it, I was at the top of my career. You know, I'd spent 18 years working in corporate IT as a senior computer systems architect, whatever that is. I was well rewarded. You know, I was getting $70,000 a year. I ticked all the boxes, you know, family, life, nice house, comfortable, able to afford holidays. Everything's as it should be. It's how I went in to my university degree in '89, Aston University in Birmingham, very much a career-focused, right? Not a production line, but you go into that university and you expect to find a well-paid, did a degree in international business and German. So I was going to work in the European Union. I was going to get all these great opportunities. And, you know, I was always somebody who's like, you know, if I could find any spare time in my time, I would go and do runs or charity swims, do that sort of thing. So I could still feel like I was supporting communities and doing stuff, always setting myself targets. So that was the surface. All looks great. What's he talking about? But this is what it was like inside. To be honest, I felt empty, really, a bit lost. When you work in a big corporate environment, a big company, you really do feel like that small cog in a big wheel. You know, there's so much that is out of your control. You're on these, I mean, in IT, I mean, some of you will know, you see these stories on the news about big government projects, IT projects that have gone wrong. The reason is because it's just too many managers trying to sort everything out, and it's just projects overrun, nobody understands what the customer wants, all of that stuff. And so it just wasn't delivering any sort of sense of making an impact on the world. And, you know, I think all of us want to, at some point, think that we've done something that we can, have some sort of legacy, especially when you get to family age and you start to think about what you've done. And this is where I was, the first 5 years of my son's life, I was literally working away 3 to 4 nights a week, staying in these soulless hotels, just wondering, when it came to the weekend, I'd get home and I'd be so tired and, I couldn't really do that much, and counting down the clock to the next week. So it wasn't that I couldn't do the job, and there was ever building pressure all the time. The more senior you got, I'm there in my 40s, and in fact, my 39th birthday, I had to be checked into A&E because I'd suddenly got some problems with my stomach. I don't know what's going on with this. The next minute, they're x-raying my kidneys and saying, well, you've got high blood pressure. I knew I had to do something about it. I had to make some sort of change. The trouble was, at the age of, after 18 years, what particular career options did I have? You expect to train. If you want to be in finance, you've got to train and go through the process. All the other careers had already moved. I was there in IT. What else could I do? And so I felt very trapped and very, what was all this about? Trapped on that treadmill, effectively. But I kept thinking back to, sorry, it's all a bit blurred. I kept thinking back to a time just after I actually graduated. And now I said that, it was great. I'd just go on the degree. Everything would be great. Come out the other end with a job. The truth is that didn't happen. The truth is that I'd actually spent so much time focusing on getting the results and getting through, and out we go into the jobs world. I forgot to actually do the things that develop you as a person, so going in and getting involved in clubs and societies and groups and actually volunteering for things, getting stuck in. I hadn't done any of that really, and there I am sitting in front of interviews. There's most of the jobs at that time. It was a tough market, just as it's been quite recently. It was a tough jobs market. 1,000 people would be going for maybe 10 places. So 1 in 100 chance to get a job. If you didn't have the examples of where you were in a team and you worked together and you motivated people, then sorry, you're not through to the next stage. It's not going to happen. So there I was, still not with a job, and I ended up back at home. And then at that point, my life changed completely, turned upside down. Because November 1993, very suddenly, my mum lost her life. And I just can't describe that feeling of what can you do? How nobody can explain how you feel and react to something like that. It's such a major life event. The whole plans and everything just get pushed to one side. But I knew I had to move on in some way because this is a real turning point in my life anyway. I'm supposed to be starting this new career and that's not happening, and what's going wrong? I live in my hometown is Scunthorpe. It's not the most inspiring place. I think at that point I was about to be offered a job in the Lilo factory as a temporary worker, doing whatever they do there. And then I found this Prince's Trust. Has anyone come across the Prince's Trust scheme? Anyone ever looked at anything to do with that? No? Yeah? I mean, obviously they support small enterprises and businesses with startups, but what this was a team program. So what they do is they get 12 young adults, 16 to 25, throw them together, and then give them a series of challenges over the next 12 weeks to really get your skills going. And my mum was such a community person. She was really into, as a school teacher, she really was into fundraising and doing things in the local area. So I kind of thought that was a way to honour her memory and actually get myself some kind of extracurricular experience, stuff that I could talk about, something maybe I could be proud of, something definite. And so I signed up for the course, and we went through, we had training with the army, we training with the fire service, we did all sorts of projects, but we had to come up with our own challenge as a group. And you know, within our team there were people who were long-term unemployed, there was ex-offenders, all sorts of people in there. So it really was important to work together, and we did that. We were able to, in just 1 week, we had to go and do our own fundraising. We managed to get whitewater rafting, car washes, a market store with all this stuff out and about. This is in Birmingham. We raised £1,000 in that week. And then our chosen project was an adult learning centre. Basically, they had a garden that was just a patch of grass, and we needed to see if we could transform it in some way. So we used the money. We all worked on it. I've got no gardening skills. I'm not Alan Titchmarsh. But I could do the heavy lifting. We put up water features, pergolas, all this stuff. Brilliant. And then at the end of the session, we did a presentation, and we spoke to a whole room full of invited guests. And so all of these things I learned, all these life skills in 12 weeks. And you know, if we go back to me in the computer industry, I actually felt that I'd achieved more in that 12 weeks than I'd done in the last 2 decades. So this was in my mind, doing something along the lines of, how could I get back in the community? I'm always on the road during the week. Maybe there's a way. Is there something locally I could get involved with? Well, we just moved down to Grantham, so it was a new area, and that was where the inspiration came. And it came, unsurprisingly, from swimming. Sorry, apologies for the large version of this, it's bad enough small. But the point being that my son's Saturday morning swimming lessons, there I was, weekend dad again, you know. I'll take him along to the pool, yeah, great. I kept noticing these banners. They were saying Rotary, Grantham, Swim Marathon. So I thought, oh, right, I did the National Swimathon. Sorry, spilling the water. That could be something. If these people organise that sort of event locally, that's great. Maybe they're people that I could get in touch with, find out more about them. Could I get involved? I mean, I don't know whether any of you know much about Rotary or the various other voluntary organisations. I certainly didn't. Right? I didn't know the difference between Lions, Round Table, all these sort of groups. You just see them out and about sometimes. You think, okay. But when I went to the website and I found out about it, and it was because the webmaster of the club had actually put in there, said, we'd welcome new members. You know, we're always looking for people. He was so quick to get back to me when I put in, I said, yeah, I'd be really interested in this. And the main point was that they met on a Monday lunchtime, and Monday lunchtimes were doable for me because I worked from home Mondays and then travelled away the rest of the week. So I got in touch, we met up, invited along as a guest, and then by January 2011, I became the first member of the club ever to join via an internet inquiry. So, happy days. Let's find out about this swim marathon. Does anybody know about the marathons I know there's one in Lincoln as well. Yeah, so I mean, you get the idea, basically. Lots of people swim lengths in teams, and they raise money. And it just so happened that Grantham did it on a pretty grand scale. So basically, there I am, during the weekend, trying to do every role possible. So you get to click the lanes for people, you get to swim yourself, you get to go on a reception desk, all these different things. But the atmosphere is amazing. I mean, 3 days long, and everyone there that goes along to help out are volunteers. They're just doing it because they love it. There's 1,500 plus people that swim over the 3 days. And all of the local schools in Grantham take part. 60% of them are under the age of 16, the people that take part. So there's a huge amount of community spirit going on. And every charity that benefits is local. So I think that they typically raise about £40,000 every year, and they give that between 50 different charities. So all the charities carry on swimming and everybody's involved. So you see that figure there, that's £712,000. That's now, it's in its 27th year. That time it was the 22nd year. It's just an extraordinary event. Now the chap with the klaxon, you can see in the picture there, is a chap called Roger Graves, a local bank manager, but also known in the town as Mr. Swim-Marathon. Everybody would go to him to get their lane, get the teams booked in. Each team would go back to him every year. He was very enthusiastic about this, and understandably so. But he had a real brainstorm. He said, well, we're Rotary. Why don't we share this with other Rotary clubs elsewhere? So why don't we get more people to join in and enjoy what we get in our local community? So his idea was the Olympic vision, if you like. So we're coming up to London 2012, and he said to some of the members of the club, he said, well, why can't we do a simultaneous swim all around the world? And they laughed. He said, well, how are you going to do that? He said, well, I've looked into this. There's a Guinness World Record here, setting the National Swim-a-thon in 2002. There were 2,300 people swam in 1 hour, and each swam 100 meters. So he's like, well, that's only 100 clubs, 25 people per event. No problem, we can do that. We can set a Guinness World Record. Now, Rotary, you can just see on the T-shirts it says END. That's End Polio. How many of you know about polio and the effects of it? Yeah, it's something that's not really here in the Western world because we're all immunized as children and, it's not going to be a factor, but it still exists. It's a disease that affects children under 5, crippling effects, It's a horrific disease. Now, Rotary had been campaigning for this for about 30 years, really. 1985 it started. In 1985, there was 350,000 cases around the world. Now it's down to, like, the last couple of countries, Afghanistan and Pakistan, it's down to, they say it's this close to ending polio, 99% gone, but it's still a lot of work to do. So anyway, we knew that this would be something that all the Rotary clubs would be interested in doing, in supporting. So we had one common goal, and this is what I learned about social media. It's about connecting a community together, wherever they are, around a common goal. The Guinness World Record, of course, was we'd love to be part of that, The only problem was you swim at 12 o'clock lunchtime in Grantham. You've got to swim at 1 in the morning in New Zealand the next day, 4 a.m. in the US, all these problems. And not only that, the Guinness team, when he got in touch, said, well, I'm afraid you have to document absolutely everything for us. It has to be signed by 2 local dignitaries. You have to have every single person that swims and all the details. You have to absolutely measure everything. Photos, videos, proof that these events are taking place. So there's a lot of persuading to do. Now, Roger would be the first person to admit he didn't know anything about social media, how he could use it. So he had no idea how he'd connect with other clubs. You can't really just phone them up. Email's a bit of a difficult thing to sell people on the idea. We need something like social media that could show you videos of the event in Grantham, get people excited about it, get people engaged. Now, as it goes, I was still working away, so in my spare time, I could contribute to the club and this event by getting onto social media, going onto Facebook, Twitter, and actually trying to spread the word. But same as most people, I sort of use this socially. I've got friends' accounts on Facebook. I was connected, but I didn't really know how to use it properly, to actually raise the profile of an event. So I actually found myself making all the classic mistakes that you would make. I wanted to connect with every Rotary club I could find, so I looked them all up online, searched for them, liked every page, almost expected it to just almost instantly go viral as soon as everybody knew about it. And it was never going to happen. But we basically had the power of this global Rotary family. That was the thing that I didn't appreciate, the fact that if you join Rotary, you're not just joining your local community. This isn't an advert for Rotary, but you are part of a family where you could be welcomed at any club at any time, anywhere in the world, because you've got shared values, you've got shared service. This is taken from a conference, an international conference. They have a flag ceremony. It's a bit like the Olympics. You know, they literally have 200 odd flags brought out onto the stage one at a time, and everybody's, yeah, here we go. But the thing is, if you think about social media, what's already out there, the fact that lots of these people were already connected to each other, there were lots of international groups that were already connected with each other, that was the thing I was missing. You know, the key was to actually find the champions in a local part of the world, and they would spread the word about the event. I didn't need to go there and organise how they'd swim and give them all the instructions. I could pass that on and let them do it. So that was the thing I had to do, is to try and find the champions. Now, April 2011 to the date we set, 25th of February, so we had 10 months. Now, first thing to note about social media is, for an event and trying to raise a profile, if you don't have a website, you're going to go nowhere, because there's got to be somewhere for people to actually go to. The social media generates the interest, it shares the pictures, the videos, finds the people, but they've got to then go and register. So Irvin Metcalf was in charge of that. He did the website. I was doing the social media, and Roger was just championing it, going to talk to various conferences and telling them about the event, doing everything to get involved. So a team of 3 people had 10 months to get all these people registered, signed up, take part, fill out all the forms. And guess what? All the forms they filled out had to be physically mailed in the post through to Grantham. So a few problems here and there. But what really, really got people engaged, can you imagine you enter, you're on that website list, great, you know, there's a few other clubs taking part, maybe we'll join in, maybe not. But you come up with the idea of, does everyone use Google Maps? It's brilliant because it's free to use. You can put the entries, the people that are interested now. We didn't have this straight away. As soon as I switched on Facebook, everybody signed up. There was a lot of work involved. But this is the end effect. This is what we had by the time we got to the event. All the countries represented, all the different clubs. And everyone could zoom in on that map. You could go to where your cluster of clubs, and you go and zoom in and see the actual location, see what was happening at that particular event. You know, through social media, we'd managed to get some swim stars involved. So on Twitter, for example, I tweeted to a Paralympian swimmer who just retired and said, would you be interested in being our ambassador? And she sent a 140-character reply, yes, I would. Okay, that's great, then fantastic. That simple to actually reach out to people, it was crazy. But yeah, the power of this map and the power of everybody seeing that they weren't alone, you know, the ones that had to get up at 5 in the morning or go swim at 11 at night were part of something crazy. Well, they were going to do it. And this little collage gives you some feel for the kinds of things that we started to see. So 25th of February 2012, we'd managed to get BBC East Midlands down there to the pool, filming us. But we had no real idea how the events were going around the place. You know, the social media, and we'd worked out, we were looking to get maybe 5,000, 6,000 swimmers at least. So we thought we'd get the record, but we didn't know all the stories that were behind all these events. If you look in the top right-hand corner there, you'll see 2 swimmers with the end polio now, barriers now. This was incredibly powerful. India had just been declared polio-free then, and both those swimmers had suffered with polio. So Raghavendra, he'd actually swum the channel, you know, basically below his waist, no limbs. But Moeen, the little boy, he was 14 years old, and because of polio, he got infection and got brittle bones condition. Now, brittle bones is horrific. He suffered over 200 fractures in his life. His body just wasn't up to. So swimming was something that he could do. He was in the junior Paralympic squad in India. Now, just before the event, they were all set in where they were in Belgaum. They had an incredible event, by the way. 354 people in that one place swam. But just before the event, the doctor said, he's fractured 3 or 4 bones. You can't swim. You can't do it. And he was so determined, he carried on and he swam. At his own risk, he was so committed to doing it. And we saw the video come through of him swimming, and he had to swim on his back, just gently swimming along, doing his 100-meter, all properly measured, and everybody standing around. It was incredibly powerful. I mean, I can't tell you how you can never imagine these things when you set out with something like this. Then we had also in Pakistan there in the corner, and still got polio today. Australia, the lifeguards and the surfers. Vancouver in the US, 4 a.m, last minute sign up, said, how many people do we need? A minimum of 25. We've only got 4. We're going to do it anyway. So they dragged everyone out of bed. Right, we're going to go do this event. Down the bottom, South Africa, very key. Mexico and Tenerife ended up being a sort of twin club with our Rotary Club. All these stories, I mean, I'll tell you the funniest story, I think. Most of these are swimming pools, but actually there was one event that we'd managed to get somebody on board who was an ocean swimmer, and in America, they actually said, 4 a.m., but our club normally swim in the ocean, so can we do this? Guinness came back and said, well, you're going to have to measure the course properly. We can't just have you swimming out there. It needs to be properly marked. We need to get official verification. So they had to get glow sticks. So they put these glow sticks out on the ocean to measure 100 meters exactly, and they all headed out with these glow sticks to swim in the dark. 91 swimmers and 1 dog took part, because one of the swimmers needed a medical assistance dog. So the stories kept coming in, and it's just a joyful thing. You're just collecting it all together on Facebook, sharing it with everybody else, and that's how social media connects the communities together. Everybody could see that they were heading towards it. Was like election night. The numbers were coming in. We did 300 people. We did 20 people. We got past 2,500. Then we were like, okay, I think we may have the record. Anyway, funny enough, the Olympic reality. Now, again, 3 months. It took 3 months to get all of this paperwork in. And then even when Roger had sent it off to Guinness, they sent it back and said, there's nobody checking that you checked it, so you have to check it again. All right, so we've got it. Now, it just so happened that we had tickets in the summer to go to the Olympics the same day. So we managed to get a photo thing together where we're standing outside the stadium celebrating. Now, there's only 1 copy of the Guinness World Record issued, but, everybody else that was part of it had local certificates. The children from the age of 4 to 93, that was the age range, that took part. And it's 100 meters, so it was available to everybody, like little mowing. Everybody could take part. So, for me, it was another turning point, because up till January 2012, when we were about to launch, I was still working with my IT company. I was still there. But actually, with all this going on, and then another devastating thing within our family, a close cousin of mine, 45 years old, same age as I am now, suddenly got MND, motor neuron disease. Within a few months, he'd lost his life, And this was the life's too short thing. All this time I'd been hankering back to that time when we did the Prince's Trust. I've now gone and done this event. Now, I wasn't about to step out there and go, I'm going to set up a social... I didn't think social media careers were really the thing to do. I'm sure most of you think, well, what's he talking about? A social media trainer? Personal... What's all this? But I just knew I had to take some time to actually find out what it was I was going to do. Do I want to work with charities? Did I want to maybe set up my own business in some way? I didn't know what I wanted to do, so I took the time out. And it was really lucky for me that there happened to be, as these things tend to do, something came right on the back of what we'd done with the swim marathon. Does anybody know about Gravity Fields? One or two. So this is a festival that hadn't been done, despite the fact that Sir Isaac Newton was from Grantham. Pretty big historical character from Lincolnshire, let alone Grantham. Yet no celebration ever happened. So this was a scheme hatched by the local council to say, yeah, let's have a festival to actually celebrate him. And that was, when I finished the swim marathon into March, somebody from my Rotary Club said, oh, okay, would you get involved in this, Paul? Maybe you could help. So I just volunteered. I didn't know much about science and arts, to be honest. But I applied the same sort of techniques that I'd used with the swim marathon, connecting with other communities. So I found communities of people who are astronomers, and people interested in science history, artistic groups of presenters and performers, got in touch with them on Twitter, shared the messages on Facebook, and we did it slightly differently from most festivals you see online at a science festival. They're quite standoffish, about what's happening. It's just a program of events. We used a lot of humor. We tried to engage with our audience much more. So we were asking people to give people a gravitational wave and all this sort of stuff. This Alan the Banana joke, not a great joke, but it's just the spirit of it. It's like, why is it always you, the apple, that gets the breaks? Not fair for us banana. But that was the kind of spirit of the event. It was a big community event. They had a huge event in the town. Never had that many people come out to Grantham. 12,000 people. And I know the university, the University of Lincoln are definitely involved, and they go and do talks there, and they're involved in some of the setup. And I know there's that Isaac Newton building around the corner that's being built, so hopefully there'll be more ties with it. So hopefully more of you will find out about it. But yeah, the last couple of weeks, instead of just being a voluntary thing, they actually paid me proper money, and they said, well, we've got some training we need doing for our communications team. Maybe you could do that. So that's when I thought, well, okay, I'm going to take the plunge and try and set up my own business. So this is my early website offering, which was pretty poor, to be honest. It was, you think, well, I can set up a WordPress site, I can put some basic stuff on. At least I got the logo from someone. Initially, nothing against Vistaprint, but I went out and got the Vistaprint cards and handed them out at network events, and people are looking at me, what's this? What's that? Where's the brand? So it's a quick learning process. Suddenly you plunged into your own business. The good thing was, you don't need that much to actually set it up. You just need a laptop, register as self-employed, internet access, off we go. So, I wanted to offer all the services to everybody. Everybody needed social media. I thought, so great, loads of potential customers. But you can't do it that way. You've got to understand who it is you're going to help. So I've really worked out social media for small businesses, for people that really need that extra push, that don't have big budgets. I don't want to go back and work with big corporates. So I've found my area to work on. And, in a year of doing it, it was great. And then May 2013, 1 month, I got £60 coming in. So I'd obviously forgotten to make sure I kept the flow of work coming in. So it is the sink or swim time. It's literally, my wife is nagging me all the time. Can you go back to IT? Would it be all right to go back there? You can get a well-paid job again. We're missing the, it's hanging in there and trying to actually think, yeah, okay, what is it that I want to do with this? So again, I got some advice saying that the training side of it, because I've done a lot of YouTube videos and put some content out there. It was obviously something that I enjoyed doing. So why not focus on that? And this company here, Curious, that came about from them watching the YouTube videos and saying, okay, we'd like to put some of your content onto our site. Now, I don't know if you've come across any of the sites out there, Udemy, there's a few other ones where you can put your courses online. And video in social media terms is a big growth industry. You know, lots of people making courses. You know, in Curious's case, lots of ex-teachers that think, yeah, okay, I can find a new audience. It's very much different to YouTube, that you don't just sort of see the videos and be done. You can ask questions, you can interact with your teachers, you can do all these sorts of things. So you learn at your own pace, and actually started to realize that you could earn money when you're not actually there. That's a great thing about the digital world. You can create the packages, create the courses, people actually access them while you're asleep, and all this sort of dream idea, that sort of passive income can start to come in. So still doing exactly what I wanted to do, focusing on training and new opportunities further afield. So that's kind of brought us up to date with where I am now today. But the legacy of the swim marathon continues. You know, that first year, that one event has now multiplied into 4 more years of swim marathons, more clubs taking part, more money raised. Now, the question at the outset is, can social media change your world? Well, I can't think of a better example than this lady here, who's somebody who's become a close friend, but she's 10,000 miles away in Australia when we first got in touch. Via a couple of messages, she liked the Facebook page about the swim marathon. Oh, that's interesting. She's a big polio fundraiser. Can we work together? Can I help? Now, Suzanne Ray was 70 when she first went onto social media, only because of grandkids. She wanted to see her grandkids, so she was pestered. You know, go onto social media. Give it a go. Now, Suzanne got involved with our swim, and in a way that I couldn't have expected. You know, she got 9 clubs locally in Australia to take part immediately. She said, right, we're all doing it. Now, these are, you know, it's like Bullabonga Creek. It's about 10,000 miles between one club and another. I mean, this is a big area. They'd never worked together. So she did that. Then she's got a daughter in Fulham in London. So we actually met in person and talked about how passionate she was about getting more people involved. Could we get the record? So she got clubs in India, Pakistan, even in Egypt, all around the world, just through her contacts that she had on Facebook. Because suddenly she'd become, I'd call her an iPad warrior. She'd literally, Facebook, morning, noon, night, she was on there. When she slept, I have no idea. But it was only about a year or 2 after I met her that I actually discovered that as a child, she'd been in Birmingham Children's Hospital at the age of 4, and she'd got polio herself. So this was the passion for her, to actually see a chance to eliminate polio. And having supported the swim events, she then, the following year, 2013, said, hang on a minute, not everybody's got a swimming pool. Great that everyone can join together in this global social media event. Why can't we do something simpler, like a meal? So why don't we all have a meal at the same time? Maybe we could set a Guinness World Record, I don't know. We're like, easy, we don't want to do any more world records. That was hard work. But let's all get everyone to eat a meal and then put all the money towards polio. Now, she said to me and Roger, well, would it be all right? I know this overlaps a bit with what your event does. Of course, we said yes, because the possibilities of fundraising just went up and up, okay? And if I'll show you the map, the knives and forks represent the greatest meal event. So you can see it's almost obliterated all of the blue swimming events. You know, and that's since 2013. So only in 2 years, that map has filled up. I mean, there's plenty of gaps still, but it's not bad going. And to finish, really, these are some of the stats. When you take the 2 events together, so the swim and the world's greatest meal numbers together. Now, by the way, that's my little boy with the goggles, and he's doing the this close sign in the Grantham event. And this is the way they administer polio. So it's 2 little drops of vaccine. Now, polio should be eradicated because they've had a vaccine since 1955. There should be no reason, but it's just so difficult to go out. There's people at the moment with Rotary in India and Pakistan trying to do some more immunisation. You have to immunise 20, 30 million children each year in all these places. That costs a lot of money. But that number of clubs, 2,500 clubs. Just imagine how many different languages and countries. We had real trouble trying to get our message out to the various parts of the world, Spanish speaking. We had China take part. We had all kinds of countries. But, so many clubs involved. That's 10% of all the clubs around the world. There's 32,000 Rotary clubs around the world. So we had 10% that have taken part. But it's not about the people organising the event. It's about who comes along, public participation, who actually supports it. 132,000 people have joined in these events. So imagine that from a community, from a PR point of view, and all the things that have been achieved from it. But remember, the swim was a team of 3 people. We had no money, no budget, nothing. We got media coverage, not just locally, around the world, all these different things for nothing. That's the power of social media. Only social media can help you do that. And, you saw the picture earlier of me running in that half marathon. And, I did a few Great North runs. As you can see, I'm not really a personal trainer in any sort of fitness shape. But I used to raise about 500, 600 pounds for each charity I supported. I did a few. Great. 600 pounds. Nice contribution. But this, between all the Rotary clubs so far, $6 million has been raised. And it keeps going. It keeps growing. That greatest meal is just, for the swim part, it's maybe just over $1 million. The meal part, already over $5 million. What does that money mean? What does it really mean? It means 10 million children, because a vaccine only costs 60 cents. So 10 million children under 5 have been protected against polio. Now, when I was sitting there in my IT career many moons ago, thinking, have I really made an impact on the world? Probably not. Now, with people like Suzanne and the inspirations and the possibilities that I've seen through social media, it certainly changed my world. It gave me a completely different career, completely different perspective. But the question is there anything that from today, or, maybe something that you've thought about getting involved with? Is there some spark of thinking, I could actually go and do that? So I'd really like to hear from you and your questions around, what possibilities, what sort of things would you want to do? In what ways would you like to make a mark on the world? What are the things from the themes we've talked about that hopefully ring a few bells with you and make you think, there's more to this than just a few tweets and a few posts. I could go on a whole separate thing, and obviously I do that in all my training about how you go about putting the social media strategy together, because you can't just throw it out there. You have to know who you're aiming for, understand your audience. But the key thing is seeing it in a different way than just a quick way to communicate, but a way to bring people together with a common cause. And hopefully you'll get to, whether it's through social media or through some other route of developing yourself personally, always looking after your skills, always thinking about what matters to you as a person. What is your legacy in the world going to be? And never think that you can't do anything, that, within reason. But never think that things are just out of reach, that one person can't really change all that much. Somebody like Suzanne shows you're never too old to make a change in the world. She's all over the world now. She travels around with that flame that she's got. She travels around. She should tell you that, it's just brought her a new lease of life. she was really suffering with her leg and everything, and now she's out there doing it. So that's me done. So thanks very much for coming along, and I'd really welcome your questions now.
All of this has happened quite quickly in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
You're saying you started your business in 2012.
Yes.
So it's happened quite quickly. Now, from a personal development perspective, have you gone on any courses? Have you done anything in particular that has helped in terms of developing this business, especially from a social media perspective?
What's interesting is that, up until when I was working in the IT industry, I used to do presentations and, technical ones and pretty dull ones, to be fair, about storage systems and whatever. And so I didn't actually have any experience other than that Prince's Trust years ago when I did a talk to a big room full. But I'd never spoken to a room of people. And actually in my local club, in the Rotary Club, you get to speak to the members and you get to hone all your skills and practice. And I just felt so many things happened along the way that made me develop skills that I didn't think I had. I would never have been an organizer in any way, but being able to organise something. Social media gave me a way to do that. So it opened up new possibilities, that's the thing. And you just had to pinch yourself all the time. One of the weirdest things we did was we were nominated for a fundraising award just after the Olympics, and we got into the final two for the best UK fundraising, best use of Facebook campaign. And the final two was us against Macmillan's Biggest Coffee Morning. Everybody's pretty much aware of that event, happens every year, whatever. So we'd done all this with nothing, and they were up against, and we actually won. So we couldn't believe it. It's, it's just difficult to take in all the different things. So,
Anyone got a question?
Going it. So what would you be looking to do? You mean if you've got some sort of... Yeah. So there's a definite approach that you do need to sort of connect with people who could support you, I think, and that could be the local media channels as well. You need to find the people who are going to share the message, because you can't just do it yourself. You build your own audience on social media. It takes too long. You have to find people who can actually share the story quicker. There's all sorts of ways these days you can get in touch with people who do video logs. So vloggers have got big audiences. They can put the message out there. But the key thing is to get something that everyone can do simply. And from an events point of view, it's a simple thing that everyone would enjoy. It's straightforward to push out there. And when you've got that, there's so many ideas that I see all the time, and I just think, this could be done. I mean, here in Lincoln, there's Santa Fun Run every year. It's massive. The Lincoln Colonial Club that do that, it's just a huge event, and that could go so many different places. I mean, have you got any particular ideas, things you'd want to do? Yeah, I mean, there are some, Rotary's just one set of all. There are so many. I think I'd encourage you all to have a look around and see, if it's a few hours a week or whatever it is, there must be some extra things you can do, because I just wish I'd done it a lot sooner. That Prince's Trust thing happened because of a big emotional event in my life, but it probably wouldn't have happened otherwise. I've probably just been oblivious to the things you can do. So. Yeah. No, that's a good point. The key thing is to do one channel at a time and do that as well as you can. So I started just on Facebook. I didn't really use Twitter particularly. Facebook was good to initiate it because people can feedback and you can share content, videos and stuff. But understanding what's best for what purpose. So Twitter. Now, Twitter is an information channel. We all know that. It's all fast-moving updates. Sometimes it just seems like a whole blur of rubbish going on. But in actual fact, the heritage of Twitter, lots of media outlets, writers, journalists, the big TV channel, they're all on there. It's easier to reach out to them on there than it is on Facebook, for example. So that's how we got the wider audience involved, I suppose. We had the core people we got on Facebook. We put them into groups so we could support each other on Facebook. And then from that, we used Twitter, we used a blog. We had a blog with link to everything else. And we had YouTube videos and the map. The map being, not really a social media platform, but actually that in itself seemed to change the game completely. That whole thing of being part of something bigger than yourself, that really made people want to sign up, want to be part of it. So I had to, we got some sort of Rotary PR award after it, and I had to go back and actually say, what did we do? Because frankly, I made all the mistakes, as I said, I made all the mistakes in the book, tried to do too much. And, you do find that sense of disappointment at every turn. You think, surely this time we've just got onto the local, whatever, now we're on the national pages of Rotary. Surely someone will pick it up. And you kept having to pick yourself up again and keep trying. So, but definitely don't just try and put it out on every different platform, because they've all got very different uses and audiences. Yeah.
That's prompted the thought in my head. That's a really good guiding principle that you provided, in the sense that you should be selective in terms of the channels in which you promote yourself. In terms of guiding principles like that, would you recommend anything to the students from a guiding perspective? So obviously one is don't spread yourself too thinly on multiple processes.
Definitely, that's one. Yeah. Another one would be focus on the people who are genuinely interested. Okay, don't try to connect like I did with everybody. When somebody starts to show interest, they comment in, they're getting involved. They've got the potential, because people think social media is about big numbers and reaching lots of thousands of people, going viral. If you spend the attention to build the relationships with the people who actually are genuinely, they put themselves forward, I would like to take part, that works so much better. Literally, we had 5,000 swimmers, but the number of email contacts I had from the promotionals was about 100 people in total. So only 100 people put all of this together. And it's because we built that closer relationship. But quite honestly, still, most of them I've never met in my life. There's people in Bosnia who've done it for 5 years, people in all kinds of countries you wouldn't have imagined. They've never even spoken to them, but you've still got that relationship because you focused on them. Because, if you keep trying to broaden the event, if we'd have gone outside of Rotary clubs and got all sorts of other organisations involved, it would have been difficult to keep in touch. The thing that got us all together was we had that shared common goal, shared interest, and I think that's key. Another tip would be a simple model, really. With any social media platform you go onto, I say there's 3 key stages. Number 1 is to prepare, 2 is to build, and 3 is to engage. So what I mean by that is the first thing to any social media presence, if you've got an event, don't just go out there, set up the account in 5 minutes and then start tweeting, and nobody's going to respond. Take the time to prepare your profile. So make sure it's complete. Somebody can visit you, find you on the social media page the same way they would on a website, and know what you're all about. Even on Twitter, you're 160 characters to fill out, but you know what it's all about. So get that done. Then, what most people miss out is the build bit. Actually go and find the audience that's right for you. You know who the people are who are more likely to respond. If you're a business, you've got a target set of customers. If you're a charity, you know the people who already support. You've got to go and use search. You've got to use tools that are built into Facebook, Twitter, all of those. They've got search. Anyone use Twitter lists? They're a great source of accounts that somebody's put together, public lists of all the best followers that they've got. Go and follow them. You know they're in the local area, or you know they're relevant. So go and proactively find the people that you want to connect with. And then when you get to the engage bit, that bit works much better because Yeah, you've got to have a variety of content, you've got to do lots of different things with it. But the main thing is you're going to get responses. Because that's what you need on social media, engagement. If you're talking to yourself, and some businesses do this terribly, they just message. They don't share anybody else's content. If you start doing that sort of behavior, it works much better. You feel you're part of the community, you're sharing what they're doing, they'll support you. You know, why waste the existing network that's already out there? Try and do something from scratch. So prepare, build, and engage would be the 3 steps. And I've got, not to plug my own stuff, but I will anyway. So if you go to YouTube and search for PR Wilson Media, on that there's a whole series of YouTube videos. So there's ones on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube itself, social media management tools. They're all free to watch. There's about 100 plus videos, but they're all grouped together into playlists. And I'd encourage all of you to, use that resource. I'm sure you do use YouTube for various things that you look at, but as working out how to do social media, there's plenty of resources out there to support you. But yeah. $6 million, yeah. Well, there's a good point because, social media, Rotary is actually sometimes called the original social network because media is just the channels that's used, but actually as a network of people who have a common interest around the world. I don't know, people won't know this, but the United Nations, everybody looks at the United Nations as a fantastic, revered organization promoting goodwill, peace, and all of this. Well, they actually used the model that Rotary had set up, because Rotary started about 1905. 1946, when they set up the United Nations, they used the model of Rotary as a good example of how they could actually promote this in all the different countries. So whoever it is that you're trying to, if you're trying to raise money, it's not just, see, people make the mistake with fundraising on social media of trying to do the old, right, let's just tell everyone about the event, here's my Just Giving link, here's, pay here, pay there. But what we did was just connect people together who could actually do events physically in the real world, not just some online donation thing. And that, it was because of the strength of a group of people that can get together. But, without social media, it wouldn't have been possible to reach those people so easily, No, I mean, it's not about the numbers involved or, the approach is a different approach to using social media. Again, it's just not please support the cause, please support the cause. It's actually thinking about getting people in. It's difficult. I appreciate that, if you don't have some kind of group of people that have got a common, but it doesn't matter what the subject you're in, you can find people who share an interest, It could be on a small local scale, it doesn't matter. It's the principle of social media makes it easier to stay in touch. That's the thing. You may have never met these people in the world, but you can actually still build a community, and that's a community of champions. Everyone could do that. It's not impossible. I mean, I would never have imagined the amount of money that has been raised, to be fair. And, I'm not standing here saying, look at me, a $6 million man. Nothing to do with me. I didn't come up with the idea. I didn't do anything other than just try and spread the word in the best way I could. And then the whole thing, social media was just a catalyst to make that happen. It wasn't the reason the monies was raised, but it was the enabler that connected the people in totally different time zones to be able to do the same thing. Good question.
Okay. social media platforms from a personal viewpoint
Yeah.
and a professional one. Because obviously
Oh, yeah, yeah,
it's difficult managing the two.
it is.
You know, I'm quite conscious of the fact that I don't want anyone Googling my name and finding pictures that my mum's put up of our last holiday when I was 5 and me talking about my professional. So is there any sort of help or guidance, like that word guidance, you can give in terms of that fine balance between professional and personal balance on social media?
Yeah, I mean it always comes up because it's a generation of people that grow up using the tools just from an early age. My little half brother was on Facebook at 9, he's supposed to be 13 before he started using it. So there's already a trail of digital out there about everyone, particularly people that use this stuff all the time. So there is a complete difference though between that. When it comes to the job interviews, LinkedIn, for example, how many people have thought about a LinkedIn account? That is your chance to really put across your professional presence. No other social media platform gives you so much area to actually put a professional statement about what you do and showcase your skills. So it's a must really, because everyone is going to interview you at any point, at any time, will be looking on there, or if they're doing a business deal with you, they'll be looking for you. Now you can go back to your old social media, you can do things like limit past posts, so you can stop your Facebook stuff, content being shown that you've previously done. But a lot of it is about when you're a business or a professional profile, you set up something like a separate business profile and you don't necessarily see the people behind that. So with Facebook, you can create a page and nobody sees who the people behind that are. And make sure you keep the things as separate as you can. A lot of people just use Facebook for their friends and never go on it for anything else. So there's lots of different options, but the main thing is to think, Google yourself, definitely. Have a look and see what's coming out as the top results. And then if there's any, the content you can remove, great. But be aware that anybody can search anytime for anybody. And, everything you put on social media should always be thought of as public, even if you're just sharing it to your small group of friends. That could, somewhere in a chain, not a scaremonger, but it can come out. So just be aware when you do post, is this the right, and it's things like completed your profile. Don't have sort of half-finished Twitter profiles. I'm sure, there'll be little jokey comments and things like that. But when it comes to the working time, make sure that, it wasn't an issue when we were around. Social media wasn't there, so not a problem. But now it's a different story. So, but, just always keep them separate. Don't mix personal stories so much. Your personal data and all that stuff can be exposed by social media, of course. So you've got to be wary of that. All right.
Anything else anyone would like to add? Okay, well, first of all, thank you all for coming. More importantly, we want to show our appreciation to Paul, who's been given us time for today.